Hello everyone, this is David Luscombe, and today I'm going to go over another really exciting chess game. This game was played in 1924 at the New York Chess Tournament. On the right side of the board we have Jose Raul Capablanca, and on the black side of the board is Savielly Tartakower. Those two were really good fans, and over the years they have played many games. And this is one of Capablanca's huge masterpieces, and I'm going to illustrate a very important strategic concept called inducing weakness. And I'm also going to show you several other strategic concepts which are important not only in the end game but also in other aspects of chess, in the middle game, in the opening. So let's go ahead and take a look at this game, and we're going to look at the imbalances first. So let's look at the trumps. We can see that Capablanca has a superior bishop to knight. He has a much better minor piece. This is mainly because we are in the endgame and there are pawns on both sides of the board, so the bishop is going to do much better than the knight because it can move quickly from one side to the other side. And the position is a little bit closed, but as the game progresses it'll get even more and more open. Not to mention, the knight on a5, it's on the edge of the board, and pieces that are on the edge of the board often are not as active, can't control as much space, and don't have as many options. This knight would look a lot better on e4, where it could go to either side of the board. It could help attack on the king's side or attack on the queen's side. It's much more flexible, and it does a lot more on e4 than it does on a5. The knight on a5 is kind of passive. It does do one good thing though. It helps control this c4 square, which I'm going to get to here in a minute. Now the second reason why this bishop is really good on d3 is that if white could attack over here on the king's side really fast, then he would be up in the attack. He would have more attacking pieces than black has defending pieces. This is mainly because the knight has a hard time getting back to the king's side to help defend. It would take 1, 2, and maybe 3 moves to get over here to try and help defend the pawns. You might be able to defend the pawns in just 2 moves, but it may require 3 moves to be effective. In addition to that, this king is not able to get to these pawns as fast also, because the king is also at least 2 squares away from the pawns here on the king's side. This means that if white attacks very quickly, he will have a lead in attacking pieces. He will have more attacking pieces than black has defending pieces. So that is also a major benefit of having a bishop versus a knight, is that you can attack pretty swiftly before your opponent has time to bring pieces to the defense. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the rooks. Well, the rooks are fairly equal here. Neither side has a really passive rook or a really active rook. A really good rook would be if black had a rook along white's second rank. And likewise, if white had a rook along black's 7th rank, then the rooks would be really well placed. But that's not the case. However, they are not bad rooks either. A really bad rook would be limited to the defense of a pawn or would not have much space. It would be like having a rook on h6. This would be a really bad rook because it would be out of the game. It would be on h6 and it would be difficult to get it back into the game. Even a move like rook out to h5, it can't get out to f5 because the bishop controls that and these pawns control the other squares. So having a rook on h6, h5 would leave black very, very passive, and that would be a really bad rook. And likewise, the same thing for white. If white had a rook, let's just say, on h6, then even though this rook is attacking, it could become very passive. Or even, let's just say, maybe having where would be another really passive square for the rook. Having a rook on g4. The rook would be pretty passive here as well, although it could do some damage on the king's side. So that is important to note. But essentially the rooks aren't really passive, but they're not really active either. So they're about equal in strength. So let's go ahead and take a look at the kings. Well, the position of the kings is about equal. White's king is slightly closer to the center of the board, but cannot currently break through the center to attack any weaknesses in black's position. So the king positions are about equal. White's might be slightly better because it is closer to the king side pawns, where a lot of the action is going to take place, whereas black's king is a bit farther away from it. That might be the only slight advantage that white's king has over black's king, but otherwise they are about equal. Now let's see here, what next? Let's go ahead and take a look at the pawn structure. This is black's major trump card. If we look at black's position, black's pawn structure, he only has 2 pawn islands, whereas white has 3 pawn islands. So white's pawn structure is much weaker. In addition, white has this really weak isolated a4 pawn that can't be defended by any other pawn, and a weak backward pawn on c3 that can't currently be exchanged off because black's knight is controlling the c4 square. This is what I was getting to earlier. That even though this knight on a5 is pretty passive, it does do one thing really well, prevents white from trading off this weak c3 backward pawn, and basically fixes a pawn on c3, making it a target. And that will help black later on in the game. Alright, so who is better? Is it Capablanca on the white side or Tartakower on the black side? Well, white is currently better, but only if white looks at his position and acts on those imbalances and acts very quickly. If white just, plays some move like rook out to e1, check, and rook moves over to e7, and then we have to trade off the rooks because otherwise white would be giving up the e file. So if the rooks came off the boards, then white's trumps would not be as good because they're bringing black's king closer to the center of the board and closer to the pawns here on the king side, and would take away one of white's major attacking pieces that has a lot of potential here in this position. So if white does play according to the position, according to what the position asks, then he will stand very well. But if he plays a rook move like rook to e1, maybe even king out to f3, then black can move his king closer to the king side, and then white doesn't have this major potential attack. It would be much harder for white to win the game. So this is a really critical moment. White must find this very critical move, otherwise black could possibly stabilize the situation and prevent losing the game. So, alrighty. So basically, white's king is decent, his bishop is decent. What white needs to do right now is improve his rook. And as we all know, rooks do belong on open files. But as we just saw, rook out to e1 didn't do a whole lot. The rooks just traded off, and white basically did not have this really amazing attack because the rooks would be traded off. So the point here is that white needs to create another open file for his rook so that his rook can quickly get in on the attack on the king side before black has time to bring his knight or his king over here. White needs to attack fast, so white needs to open up a second file for his rook. You can go ahead and pause the video to think about how white would go about doing that. I'm going to go ahead and show you here though. White in the actual game plays h4, h5, a brilliant move. And this move is amazing for many reasons. One of the reasons is simply that it creates weakness in black's pawn structure over here on the king side. It creates additional targets. Now white is threatening to simply take on g6. When black takes back, bishop takes g6 would win at least a pawn, not to mention the bishop on g6 would be pinning the rook to the king. So white has several threats here. And no matter how black responds, he's going to be left with a weaker king side. In addition to that, no matter how black responds, white will now have an open h file for his rook. So his rook will become very active before black is able to activate his knight or activate his king. So timing here is very important. In the endgames and in other parts of chess, you want to make your pieces as active as possible, and you also want them to work together. Capablanca is doing all of this with that one move. By inducing weakness, he is also having really good strategic ideas, strategic methods here. Number one, he's creating an open file for his rook. Number two, he's inducing weakness. Number three, he is attacking on the king side, where he has more pieces. Number four, he's making his rook very active. And number five, really important strategic concept, he is coordinating his pieces so that they can work together. So in this video, I'm actually teaching you 5 important strategic concepts. So this is really important. It's a great game by Capablanca. So h5. Alrighty, so how to deal with this? Well, what if g takes h5? Then we would see rook out to h1, attacking this pawn. So what does black do? Well, you know, if white moves again, he'll take this pawn and be attacking both the d5 pawn and the h7 pawn. h7 pawn would be attacked twice. So black must try to do something with this. Maybe he plays h6 to defend this h pawn with rook out to f6. Well, if he does it that way, then the d5 pawn falls. And if he does something else, maybe he tries to play, I don't know, c6 to hold on to the d5 pawn. Then after rook takes h5, this h pawn is going to fall. And white in this position would have at least 2 passed pawns over here in the center of the board. And if the d pawn falls instead of the h pawn, then white would have 1 passed pawn, which would be enough to win also. So, go ahead and back up. Therefore, taking is not the solution. That would not be a good thing to play. In the actual game, black went ahead and played rook out to f6 because taking is bad. So after rook f6, see h takes g6, h takes g6, and now rook h1. White has gotten what he wanted, an open file for his rook, and he's going to have pressure on this pawn. He has weakened black's king side. So here we see king out to f8, trying to bring the king closer to these pawns to help defend them. Rook h7, and another trump in white's position is that his king is free to move up the board as he wants to, but black's king is now stuck along the back rank and is unable to move up the board. So that's another trump, another thing going for white. After rook h7, well, we can see how white's h4, h5 move playing according to the position, according to where his pieces would have the greatest effect, the greatest attack. By playing that way and by inducing weakness, white has a winning position here. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop the game here, and in my next video I'm going to illustrate another important chess concept of simply activating the king in the endgame. And Capablanca does go on to win this, but in my next video, my part 2 video, I'm going to continue the game and show you how Capablanca wins this by using another strategic concept in the endgame, which is simply activating the king. And thank you for watching. This is David Luscombe at Chess64. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share. It's much appreciated.